Good evening, Broncos country. Let's give it a moment for the stream to breathe. Make sure we have all of our platforms included for tonight's discussion. All right, and looks like we are good. Welcoming everyone to another installment of the Orange and Blue View. I am one of your hosts, Ron White. On that side of me, my partner in crime is there. You know him, you love him as Dylan Von Arx. Dylan, we are a week removed from the 2024 NFL Draft. I know you spent a decent amount of time with with the guys on the pod, and you guys did tremendous. The coverage was great from everyone. Not only the coverage, obviously with streaming, but also the written content. So fabulous job, everyone. But other than that, how are you doing today on this nice Saturday?
Doing great. I have a work an extra day this week, so I've already started a little long week at work, but I'm here. I'm tired, but I'm here, man. I'm happy, and I'm ready to talk Broncos.
Yeah. And I am glad to be with you guys as well as always. You know, it's again, we're going to talk good Broncos football. I know we are all excited about what's to come, especially with these draft picks um, that the Broncos selected last week. And again, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say here. But before we get into some of kind of the main topics here, we kind of want to say, hey, let's see who's all coming um, in the chat here. Let's see. We got Lawrence Rivera coming in with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Lawrence. He says, "What up, guys? I'm at Mile High Stadium watching motocross tonight." Oh, okay, cool. Hopefully you're having fun out there, my man. Thank you for coming in and tuning in with us. You know we appreciate you. All right, let's see who else we have. We have Sean Ward coming in from Facebook. Newer name for me, but again, thank you, Sean, for coming in. He says hello from South Texas. Hello to you as well, sir. And again, welcome in. Hopefully, you are doing well tonight. All right, let's see. And we got Adam Strange coming in. What's up, Bronco Maniacs? Hey, Adam, thanks for coming in, my man. We appreciate you. Yes, we are. We're some maniacs. We're gonna become even more maniacs and excited as we talk about this class. But again, thank you for coming in tonight. All right, let's just see. Perusing here. We want to shout out, as always, our guy, the Ronk, Mike Ronquillo, coming in. Says, good evening, Ron and Dylan on Orange and Blue View. Go Broncos. Mike, thank you, my guy. You know we always appreciate you.
Always good to see you, Michael.
All right. All righty. So we got C Chang here, which actually gets into the what you see as the topic for tonight, guys, which we'll get into here shortly. Our running back room is stacked, yes. So again, per what the title has, we want to get into the running backs. How does this backfield look in 2024? So, as most of you guys know, the Broncos did add two running backs, one per draft, and then one came in as undrafted. So, one that was drafted fifth round, Audric Estimé, out of Notre Dame, and Blake Watson is the other undrafted out of Memphis. And I know there were, after drafts, the pressers with the Paytons, and I think it was asked that how Sean Payton was going to use Audric Estime. And he pretty much said that he sees him more as first down, second down type of guy. He can't really say third down because I guess that's situational for the third down portion, but kind of more as that mostly you're almost, if not every down, most down back. And that begs the question, Dylan, of obviously we see the room stacked. Audric Estimé coming in, Blake Watson also coming in, more as, yeah, you can kind of see Watson more as he won't really do in between the tackle, but he's a little bit better in space.
Mm.
So he's very tremendous in space. He's very twitchy, agile with quick feet, and he has great long speed. So you kind of see the comps when it comes to, who they picked up versus who's currently on the roster. As you have estimate comp would be Javante Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Blake Watson comp would be more of like a Jaleel McLaughlin. So having said that, I guess how do you see? And obviously they have to go in camp, compete. We get that, but I guess how do you see, this running back room taking shape? And as a result of camp, I guess what do we expect maybe to go down in camp? How do we see each individual performing? And then from there, what do you see as being like the potential backfield for the Broncos?
Yeah, the addition of Estimé, I think, signals that Javante Williams' days are probably numbered after this year. He's come to a contract year. That knee injury was significant. Yeah, I know maybe giving another year might help things, but running back to the contract year, he hasn't produced, obviously because of injury. That's stymied him, but the Broncos, I think, got his replacement in day 3 of the draft, and like you mentioned, similar style running, hard nosed, especially like I think he's going to be a great weapon on third and shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Nick scrambling possibly, and just we have a bunch of different threats now for Peyton to use. I do think the odd man out who may not make the roster this season. I think Javante probably sticks this year and just plays out his contract. I think Jaleel McLaughlin is very much in danger of getting his spot taken by Blake Watson. Very similar player, similar build, weight, and whatnot. Yeah, and he had pretty good production in college, I believe. Let me take a look here. Yeah, last year Memphis, 1,152 yards, 14 touchdowns on the ground, and another 480 yards in the receiving game with 3 touchdowns. You could kind of do it all, but like you mentioned, he's smaller. You don't really want him running between the tackles. But yeah, that's. I believe P. Ryan is probably safe to say he's gone as well. He made some pretty clutch catches and whatnot, but when it comes to being a running back, I want him to do a little more than that, and he really wasn't productive on the ground last year.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that shortly, just to grab C Chang here again with kind of a follow up to what you said earlier. I do like these 2 running backs and have watched some of their highlights. Again, thank you, C Chang, for coming in. And yeah, I think you're spot on. Where with the selection of Audric Estimé, yeah, Javante Williams is days are very numbered. And it's very unfortunate, especially, you would have loved to have seen him kind of somewhat come back a little bit more last year. And again, I know coming back from injury was a little bit tough, a little bit difficult. Because again, every yard for Javante was just so hard to get. And then the vision just wasn't there as well with Javante. So, but I think, I think he's still going to be on the roster with, again, Estimé really kind of taking more of a role. And you're right. First down, second down for sure. But I see Estimé's role as that anything 3rd and 5 and shorter. Specifically like 3rd and 2, just bum rushing guys, just bum rushing defenders.
Carrying them with
and
him,
he can jump over. Just carry it, bum rushing and or just carrying them along with them. I mean, the guy is rock solid. The guy can definitely. So, I see him. He's also a good pass catcher too. We saw pass catcher, and he can pick up the blitz. So there are other aspects of his game to where I think can definitely help in this offense. And you're right on Blake Watson. I think with him, he's Sean Payton's always had that thunder lightning. Obviously, in New Orleans, we had the Mark Ingram with the Alvin Kamara, and you can kind of see that take shape here with Estimé more Mark Ingram, and then I'm thinking probably I think McLaughlin's going to start off, but I honestly think Watson is going to eventually take over that spot. Just because with Watson, it's like I said, he has everything you need from that lightning perspective of just tremendous in space, and would imagine he's also like a better blocker and such than McLaughlin is too. And I think that was another knock on McLaughlin that when McLaughlin's on the field, they're going to give the ball to him because he can't really.
I'm pretty sure he 100% of the time he was on the field, he got the ball.
He got the ball,
and that's a tell. Like you can't be doing that,
right? So I think again with these two additions, it's it's signaling the end for Williams and for McLaughlin. But again, I love the two picks. Estimé, again, I know they were looking at running back. I thought running back would have been more like a later round selection, maybe like the 6th round they were looking, possibly 7th. But but I think with value, I think looking at it from a value perspective, a guy of his caliber, it made sense. So.
And hedging your bets for the future with Javante.
Correct. Yep. All right. Let's see who else we have. We have DTR coming in. Evening, Ron and Dylan Von Arx. I think we have a very solid running back room. If Javante can get his burst back, we have crazy depth. Yeah, DTR. You're right. You're right on. I think, again, with these two additions, it's a very formidable running back core. But that's the key. If Javante getting back healthy, fully healthy, getting back to at least 95% of what he was pre-injury. I think that'll definitely even help this running back group up more. But yeah, I agree with you on the depth for sure.
Yeah, it's good to have depth in your running back room. And as it pertains to Javante, maybe I'm just a little pessimistic because we've seen this very similar, I think maybe even the same caliber of injury with J.K. Dobbins on the Ravens. And he's gotten re-injured. He hasn't had the same burst. He doesn't look as explosive. And we'll see what he does with the Chargers this year, if much at all. But it does worry me. And I'm just not convinced that he's going to return to form. But like I said, if we could get, let's say, 85% of Javante this year, in addition to Estimé, to Blake Watson, whoever else they decide to keep, if they want to keep more than 3 backs, because you got to think too, they might want to have their fullback there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I said, maybe I'm just being pessimistic, but it's just that knee injury worries me, man.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit concerning, Dylan, that injury, and again, you special just how it all played out last year and how he looked. And it makes you wonder, like, what will that be years to come? And again, that's why you couldn't fault the Broncos for making this selection, just because they're hedging their bets. They don't know what Javante is going to be next year, and you have a player very similar that can that can get the job done. But again, we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, thank you, DTR, for coming in with that. We appreciate it. All right, let's see who else we have. We got David Yunkin coming in. Thank you, David. Appreciate you, my guy. He says, "Evening, everyone. Hope everyone has had a great day. Our running back room will be special if our offensive line can open up a lane for the backs." I mean, yeah, I think that's key, David. That the offensive line with run blocking has to be efficient. Now, I think last year the offensive line did well for the most part. There were times, obviously, there were rooms for improvement, but I would say the O line did do the best they can with some of the holes. Again, I think some of it was just you couldn't get it going with Javante. Javante just couldn't get it going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think again with Estimé that should help with the offensive line because I've seen some film of Estimé and he just when he sees that open gap he goes he goes right through it. And again, his build also helps with him kind of going through contact as well. So you kind of have a versatile back that can see the open gaps, fight, take on contact to gain the extra yardage. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, at the end of the day, the offensive line has to be good with their run blocking consistently,
Mm-hmm.
For those lanes to open up.
And not only that, it seemed that Peyton got away from the run quite a bit, even if they get down in one score, and I don't want to say panic, but it kind of seemed like he was trying to just okay, well, we'll pass the ball and we'll try and catch up, and then we can get back to running the ball. But it never materialized, and I think just consistently calling run plays would be a big help because this offensive line actually was pretty good last year. I want to say was it at least in pass blocking? I remember it was 8th, somewhere in the top 10,
I know.
somewhere there.
Yeah.
So I think they have the ability. It's just I think they need to just keep trying and get that run game going. And the later they got in the game, Javante, he was a little more explosive towards the beginning of games, but as the games went on, when you want your bruiser back to be hammering down on people, he was wearing down. So it's that or we were playing from behind. So it's just, I think consistently calling more run plays is going to help this team much better.
Yep, most definitely. We got DTR coming in with a super chat. Thank you, my man, for coming back in. Says, evening, Ron and Dylan. I think we went from hopeless to potential in a matter of draft picks and trades. Now we get to see how this team puts it together on the field. Hashtag Bo knows. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag Knicks for 6. Well, what do you think? What do you think about that, Dylan? I mean, do you think it's now a matter of potential and we see how the team is trending with some of these picks and maybe playoffs? I wouldn't even say near year one, but maybe year one. But maybe in the next 2 to 3 years. What do you think here about DTR's comment?
I think this team is definitely more inspired than it was before. I mean, you bring in a quarterback that Sean Payton is handpicking, and obviously, I've stated before, I don't love Knicks. I like him, but if Sean Payton loves him, that's great. He took him in the first round. If he's willing to stake his legacy in Denver and even just in general on Bo Nix at 12, okay, let's go. I do think having his own guy and he can run his scheme a lot better because obviously with Russell Wilson, it was like a lot of one read. Okay, now check down if you don't like that. I think playoffs maybe. I think this is going to be more of a building year, trying to get familiar. Yeah. Knicks in the offense, the defense. I still don't love. We had some good pieces, but I just don't think VJ is going to be here. And I think the defense is ultimately going to be the downfall for this team.
Achilles heel, yeah.
Yeah, and I think 2024 is going to be a learning year, and we're building for 25. And I think we have to make the playoffs in 25. 24, if we get to the playoffs, great. But I see it more as a learning year.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And again, DTR, thank you for coming in. Yeah, I would say potential is a good word, DTR, to use. Very optimistic, very inspired. This team is trending in the right direction because the most important piece to the puzzle, we hope, is solved. Quarterback. Done. Now it's time to go execute with the pieces. We have quarterback with his favorite target also drafted, Troy Franklin. um, and they added some pieces on defense. So I would say DTR, I am more hopeful. I'm more inspired. Now you're right, Dylan. Sean Payton can go out there with the guy he handpicked and run the scheme how he wants it to be executed. And they mentioned it. Bo Nix was their guy all along. Through Nix was very determined. Everything that they threw at Nix's way, he passed it with flying colors. So, it already seems as though Nix has a hold on kind of what Sean Payton wants and kind of how to run that system a bit. Obviously, there's still going to be some learning curves because Sean Payton's offense is very layered, very complex. So, Nick still has a ways to go, but it seems as though from the foundational side of things, Nick was kind of able to understand a lot of those concepts. So again, quarterback is in place. And then we did add defensively, which I like. So again, DTR does take a few draft classes to kind of stack and build the roster. So I would say you're right. Maybe after next year's draft class, start to look for the Broncos in that playoff discussion. But again, you never know. Coaching is the one thing that that elevates a lot of these teams. And with Sean Payton's expertise on the coaching side, that this team can be a sneaky playoff team. You never know. But again, I'm looking at it more realistically that, with the talent now and stacking another class, I don't think playoffs is in the distant future. I think it's coming. But again, thank you for that one, DTR. We appreciate it. And then we got the Papa Bear coming in. David McElrath. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, my guy. He says, good evening, Broncos country, Ron Dylan and Deacon Scott. Hashtag Bo knows. Hashtag Knicks for 6. Hashtag MHH for life. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. Dylan, I think we're going to have to start using this Bo knows.
Bo knows. Bo
a lot. I do see this a lot in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down.
And thank you, David, for coming in.
Thanks,
you,
David. You did a good job on the pod the other night.
Yes, you did. Great job. Good to see you, my man. All right, let's see who else we have. Bear with us, guys. Again, no Deacon Scott, so it's just the two of us for tonight. Oh, got Phil McLaughlin coming in. Thank you, Phil. Says, good evening, Ron and Dylan. So what grade have you guys given out for the draft? Hashtag Buckham, hashtag MHH for life, hashtag Go Broncos. Good question here, Phil. I would say my overall grade is an A-. And obviously the two picks that have tilted that grade were the first two picks. Quarterback, solved, done. Quarterback has his favorite wideout, Troy Franklin, solved, done. So again, with the quarterback piece of it solved, you can't help but grade this a little higher. Now, I know some folks out there, and I think it was in the chat here, a lot of the media, a lot of these analysts giving it a C minus. And a lot of that obviously is because of where Bo Nix was picked and the value. And all that's just a bunch of nonsense. And there are other teams that were fighting for Nix's services. I mean, who's to say? Now, I don't think it's been reported that the Raiders were, but I mean, they were in for a quarterback. And I know it was reported that the Rams also were interested in Nix. So again, not a lot of people may not like him at 12. But again, the Broncos couldn't have chanced it. They had to go based on how the board was falling. They had to select him at 12. So they got their guy. Paired with the receiver. And again, the later parts of the draft, I'm a big Estimé. I like the Estimé signing. And I also like the Jonah Ellis. Now, I think with Ellis, well, we'll see. I still see him, Dylan, more as just like a situational pass rusher, though. I don't know if I see just alpha dog go hunt the quarterback. At least not yet, from what I've seen. Now, again, that could change. But I still see him kind of coming in on some of those pass rush situations, depending on how Vance shows if what coverages he has. But we'll see. The Abrams drain, I like that selection as well, and the center. So I would say overall it was a solid draft. I wish they really would have looked at off-ball linebacker and tight end in the draft. And I know they picked up some guys that were undrafted. We'll see what becomes of that. But I was hoping that they would have looked at those more as draft picks. But I would say, yeah, Phil, overall, given what they were able to acquire, I'm giving this an A-. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think an A-, B+, somewhere right there is a perfect spot for him. They got their quarterback. They got, like you mentioned, his college receiver. I really like Abrams drain. I think that's a great pick. I think corner in general is just a sneaky need for this team. So we'll see what Riley Moss and him could do in camp. I firmly believe that Damari Mathis is on the outside looking in. I don't know. He might not even make the roster this year. When it comes to Jonah Ellis, it just kind of confirmed Peyton's archetype for edge rushers, and that is, I don't care if you can stop the run. I just want you to get after the quarterback. Because now with back-to-back years, and Nick Bonito and Ellis, now they're pretty quick, pretty good at getting after the quarterback. But in terms of setting the edge, stopping the run, not so much. So yeah, I definitely didn't love that pick, especially with, I believe Adisa Isaac was still on the board, and that's kind of a guy who I was looking at. Yeah. But overall, yeah, I can't complain. Like you mentioned, tight end would have been nice to look at. Still haven't drafted an offensive tackle since 2017 with Garrett Bowles, which, I mean, part of that I think had to do with not having that second round pick. I think maybe they look that way if they have a selection there. But overall, yeah, I can't complain. I think it is funny we got a center in the last two drafts at the end of the 7th round. Yeah. Which, hey, he's got a killer mustache, I'll say that. I don't know much about him beyond that, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for this draft class overall.
Yeah, and I think with the center, he's versatile as well. I think he can play some guard.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that was good that they looked at the versatility. So depending on when he can come in, and what does that mean maybe for like a Ben Powers. Yeah, I couldn't complain, Phil, about this draft. Again, you would have liked to see some other positions looked at, but overall a solid draft. All right, definitely. Let's see who else. I want to grab this one. Just want to grab your comment, DT. I know I just went over this, but just wanted to show you some love. Ron, we missed you on the draft night, brother. If you have a few minutes to spare and can recap, that would be awesome. So yeah, I just went through DTR kind of what I thought about the selections for Denver, and again, I did mention the A- grade. Again, it was a good, solid draft. Just wanting Tim to target that tight end, off-ball linebacker, and you mentioned Dylan, the offensive tackle, kind of would have been nice as well. But I would say it was good for Denver for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. And again, guys, just kind of looking through the chat. The chat's a little heavy here, so just bear with us.
Here we go.
Oh,
Another one from Sean
Sean
Ward.
Ward coming back in. Yeah, thank you, Sean. Appreciate you, my guy. He says, "Hey guys, good evening. Do we know anything about the tight end from Utah, Thomas Yasmin, for the undrafted? No one's really talking about him, but seems pretty solid. Hashtag both for sure. Hashtag go Broncos." Sean, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't. I know of him coming to Denver. I haven't really spent much time kind of looking at his film and kind of looking at his profile. Dylan, I'm not sure if you spent some time looking either, but we can definitely get back to you. And maybe even one of the draft guys, maybe Eric or Lance or someone maybe has some more intel on him. But yeah, we can definitely do some research and get back to you on him.
Oh yeah, he's a versatile tight end. He's actually has a rugby background. So
rugby. Okay.
Yeah, so tough guy. Hopefully he can help out this tight end room because God, does it look boring. I mean, Adam Troutman is I put it in one of my most recent articles that Adam Troutman is about as fun as when your boss calls a meeting and you're like, oh, I'm going to get a raise. And it's like, oh, no, we're getting a pizza party instead, which, it's like, okay, cool. But I'd rather have a raise than pizza, but it's whatever.
Yeah. And then you just hope, Sean, you hope Dulcich can really just come back and can give you something.
Anything.
You're really anything. It's because the guy, like I said, when he's on the field, I mean, man, he's explosive, he's talented. But again, it's just getting him on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to see what Thomas Yasmin has. Like you said, rugby. I mean, hey, very athletic. We that can definitely be a bonus here for Denver. Coming in, but yeah, I'm with you there, Dylan. With this tight end room, it's just been, and you would think I know Chapman can't, with the Saints. I know there's that connection with Sean Payton, but you would just think how he uses the tight end that he would have a little bit more focus, a little bit more emphasis on that position. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Thank you again, Sean, for coming in with that. We appreciate it, my guy. All righty. Let's see who else we have coming in. Oh, we're going to grab you there shortly, Michael, but we want to grab Gary Palmer here. Thank you, Gary. Says, hi, Ron and Dylan. What's up, Broncos country? Who in the running back room has the short straw? Go Broncos. Yeah, I'm going to say P. Ryan, McLaughlin would probably be your two. Again, just because we mentioned it, Gary, I'm not sure if you caught it, but with McLaughlin, you knew that he was going to get the ball when he was on the field. And again, that's not a good, indicator of anything as far as, how you can use him. And then with P. Ryan, as great as P. Ryan is, I just think, he was very good last year just with, I call it a little bit of a chaotic offense. He was kind of that safety blanket in a way for Russell Wilson, just kind of those pitch passes and such. He would grab them and whatnot. But I think given the structure of how Peyton wants to run the offense, I'm just not sure kind of where he would fit in. And so, you're looking at, Javante and Estimé coming in, being that power back with a McLaughlin. And again, I think with a Watson, I'm sorry. And again, I think McLaughlin may still be on, but I think those are the two. But if I have to just choose one, I would say P. Ryan might be the guy on the short end.
Yeah, I think McLaughlin is going to be gone. I think he has more of a fighting chance than P. Ryan. I think P. Ryan's more just a cap casualty. He's replaceable. He was a better receiver than a running back last season, which you love to see the receiving game in the Sean Payton offense, but he might as well have been listed a wide receiver. So, yeah. Definitely, I think P. Ryan's on his way out in Denver.
Yep. Thank you, Gary, for coming in. It's good to see you, my guy. All right. And then, as promised, Mike Davis, thank you for coming in. Says Ron and DVA, which room did we improve the most aside from QB? Quietly, I'd say defensive line. Trade for John Franklin Myers, Booth signing. These guys do one thing: stop the run. So, Dylan, I'm going to turn this one over to you first. Which group would you say improved the most for the Broncos?
I really like the receiving core, actually. I do very much love the Franklin Myers trade. I got to break that while we were doing the draft pod. So that was a fun moment when there was a nice little lull in the before our picks. But no, I think Troy Franklin, he has so much familiarity with Bo Nix, and usually you don't get to pair a receiver with a quarterback. You see it sometimes, kind of like with Burrow and Chase, but that was like a year apart. And getting them in the same draft, I think the chemistry is just gonna shine through. Give him someone familiar, because obviously you got Cortland Sutton there, and he's a veteran. Seems like he's gonna stick around at this point, but who knows? Anything could change. But yeah, in general, I think the wide receiver room, even just with the addition of Troy Franklin, is going to be a big boost for this team.
Yeah, this is a great question, Mike, and I was going to. Well, I do agree with Dylan. The wide receiver was going to be my pick. I mean, just because, I mean, they drafted two of them, so not only with Troy Franklin, you have Devon Vele, and he's more that big receiving threat, kind of like a Tim Patrick would be his comp. So of course they brought Tim Patrick back on that 1-year deal, and that's he's probably going to be going in the future, and Vele can kind of come in and assume that. But yeah, I would say wide receiver for sure. You get Franklin, who is just just a play waiting to happen, an explosive play waiting to happen. That's how I see him. Now he does need to clean up a few things. I know the drops and such were a concern. That definitely needs to be cleaned up, and also the route tree needs to be a little bit expanded. He needs to learn that. But if we're talking straight line speed, just down the sideline, that's your guy. I mean, the guy is just quick, just fast. And so I was going to say a receiver for sure would be the room, but yeah, I'm with you, Michael, as well. I think there was a lot of improvement in the trenches, especially on the defensive line. I loved that John Franklin Myers signing, Dylan. I was over the moon when I saw that notification on my feed. I was like, thank God, another disruptor on the D line. I mean, all the guy does is just good run stopper, and just those explosive plays. I think I've seen a few plays where he's just jumped up, grabbed the ball, and picked them. I was just like, that's what Denver needs. Explosion, disruption on the defensive line. So, and obviously, with the signing of Roach and Boots, I definitely, I think the defensive line is in a better position. But Mike, wide receiver and defensive line would definitely be the two that were upgraded for sure during the offseason.
Yeah, and you got Franklin Myers for pennies.
For nothing.
A sixth round pick 2 years ago? Yeah. Or in 2 years?
2 years from now. Yeah, it's nothing.
Beautiful. Love it. It was funny, too, on the pod. We were joking about George Payne. We're like, I don't know, some of the moves he's made and all this stuff. And then that trade comes in, and we're like, hey, you know what? You can stay, George. That's fine. We like you a little more now.
we like you now. I mean, was kind of on the fence earlier, with this, but that's the one that yeah. Again, Mike, thank you for coming in, guy. We appreciate it. All right, guys. Again, we're probably just going to look at some super chats tonight because again, the chat is very hot and heavy. But but if there's some time, we'll get to some other questions here in the chat. We got DTR coming back in. Thank you, DTR. You know it's always good to have you. It brings on some good conversation. It says, do you guys think the offense or defense is more improved after the draft and corresponding trades? I know we haven't seen them play, but on paper, the offense. I think the offense by far is the most improved after the draft, DTR. Because again, quarterback with his wide receiver. Again, there were 2 wide receivers that were drafted. And then you just kind of have, I think with the addition of Bo Nix, I think it just instantly got better. And I think that allows Sean Payton to run his offense in his vision. So now you have your trigger man with, I would say there, as far as our receiving core, Dylan, I would say they're a little bit better than average. I mean, Cortland Sutton's a star. Now he's not at the superstar level yet, guys, but he's a star. Josh Reynolds is very capable. Like I said, it's a great blocker, and although there's been some drops of his, but he's he can catch it most times. Yeah. I would like to see Mims improve, and I think with the departure of Jerry Jeudy, Mims will take that next step. And now you add Franklin in the fold, and hopefully with the healthy Greg Dulcich, it's I think DTR, the offense by far got better. Because again, you have to look at it on defense. And I would just say I like Abrams Drain. I like that pick. And the D-line did get better. But 2 things. And I know the off-ball linebacker isn't the biggest deal because you can make things work without like a dynamic off-ball linebacker. But I still would have liked them to address that in the draft. Well, there's actually 3 things. That's 1. 2, I wanted, and again, we'll see what the jury is out on Jonah Ellis, because again, I like the pick. It was an okay pick. I'll put it that way. It was an okay pick, but I want to see if he's can be that alpha dog to just go hunting for the quarterback like a Vaughn. Again, it could come to fruition, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. And then, thirdly, Dylan, we still got Vance Joseph.
Yeah. I was gonna make that point. Yeah.
So again, those are while the defense did improve, those are my 3 reasons or reservations as to why, I'm not sure if the defense will, be that much better than last year.
Yeah, especially losing a leader like Justin Simmons. That secondary is going to be, I think it's going to be a little more rough than people think. I mean, I'm more optimistic about the corners. It's the safety position. We'll see if PJ can stack good years. And Brandon Jones, I like the signing a lot. It's more of, he was kind of that third safety in Miami. He wasn't, starting necessarily. So stepping into a full-time starting role, we'll see how he does. But like you mentioned, it's got to be offense. Offense is easily the most improved. You got your quarterback for the future. You got him a weapon. I just love it overall. And like you said, I really love the Josh Reynolds signing. He's going to be a good security blanket. Underrated. Definitely. And you mentioned drops. He had his drop problems, but he still caught more touchdowns than Jerry Jeudy did. So I'll take it, man. I'm pretty optimistic about this offense, and obviously the identity of this team has shifted since Sean Payton's got here from a defensive-led team to now an offensive-led team. So I think it's going to be a really good year for the offense.
Yeah. For sure. Thank you, DTR. And David Youngkin looks like he shares a brain with us. Thank you. He says the defense has to be more consistent and more explosive. Yeah, that's it, David. They have to provide more explosive plays. They have to get a better pass rush. And also, well, we saw last year, and again, I think that's where they have improved on the run defense. They did bring in players to help out with that run defense because that run defense last year was atrocious. So yeah, and if they can, clean up those areas, kind of hold up on front because the corners can't hold up but so long. That they need it all works in tandem. Got to get a pass rush going for sure. So if they can clean up those things, we'll see where it takes them. But yep. All right, let's see. I saw a comment in here from. Trying to see if I can find it here. Phil, yes, this is the one I wanted to grab. Thank you, Phil, for coming in. He says, well, guys, I have asked other pods this question, so would like to get your opinion. Who in the West had the best draft? Dylan, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really liked all three of our rivals' drafts. If I had to pick one, it's between the Chiefs and the Chargers. I think I lean more towards the Chargers because their wide receiver room was horrendous and they flipped it like that. You get Brendan Rice late. You get Cornelius Johnson, who I was pretty high on. I was hoping we'd maybe take late as a flyer. And Lad McConkey, great smooth route runner, deceptively quick, and they got Joe Alt along with it, more protection for their star quarterback. And obviously, it's going to be a run heavy team. That's kind of Harbaugh's MO. But having these options at receiver, because you got to have them there. Justin Herbert's got an insane arm talent, and just to flip the wide receiver around completely is just really good work by them. And then also Junior Colson, I think, is a pretty underrated pick for them at linebacker.
Yeah, that's a good selection. That the Chargers definitely did have a pretty good draft. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Just because they got one guy I was hoping that we would get. And that was Jared Wiley. Jared Wiley was one of the tight ends that I was just looking at his film, and I'm like, man, it would be so nice for Denver to get him, and they snagged him up. And I understand, right? Because I know he just signed that contract. I know he was contemplating retirement, so who knows how much longer he has. So I get it with Wiley and Xavier Worthy. I mean, the speed. I know it was a long shot for Denver, but then the fact that Buffalo did it again and traded with them to get. I'm just like, man, Buffalo, what are you guys thinking?
You not remember what happened last time you traded with them.
And also I think they got that corner out of Tennessee who's pretty good. So I would say, yeah, that definitely the Chiefs had the best draft, Phil, in the West. Sure, but that's a good question. It's a good question. Thank you for coming in with that.
You got to be upset about the Raiders getting your boy, though,
huh? Yeah. That one hurt. Yeah. That one hurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, he was right there for the taking, but I get it. The Broncos needed their quarterback, but man, just imagine Brock Bowers in this offense. Just would have been. But again, he needed, somebody needed to throw to him, and we didn't really have anybody. So got to get your quarterback first.
Definitely.
So I definitely get it. All right, let's see. Oh, we got Mike Edel coming in. Thank you, my guy. We appreciate it. It's very generous of you. We appreciate it. He says, good evening, gentlemen in Broncos country. I'm seeing a shift in the style of football in our division. Jim Harbaugh is going to return 90s football to the NFL. I believe this is part of Sean Payton's draft plan. GMO, go Broncos. Again, Mike, thank you for coming in. Yeah, you can see the shift back, or I guess the return, if you will, to a 90s style of play where it's more focus in the trenches, more ground pound. Um, Obviously, both teams, especially with the Chargers, they beefed up that line, and obviously with the selection of Joe Alt, um, you can definitely see that Harbaugh will focus on just running the football. Making sure that run blocking is a priority and opening up those gaps. That's his thing, and I think Sean Payton wants to do the same. You know, I think he's satisfied with the offensive line. Again, I would have liked to see them draft an offensive tackle. That's just me, but satisfied with the offensive line, and you can see that focus with an Estimé, with the selection of Estimé to just grind these yards out. Get that big guy to take on contact and just grind out yards on the ground. Um, you also saw, even with the Chiefs these past few years, it hasn't been, you know, a lot of things haven't really been done in the air. As great as Mahomes is, Pacheco has been getting yards on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, Mike, that a lot of it goes to that defense that Vic Fangio has employed, where a lot of these quarterbacks, a lot of these offenses, they don't go long and deep. Sure, they'll take their deep shot every now and again when the opportunity presents itself, but they're not going long and deep on a consistent basis. So that the imprint of Vangio's defense and system has really kind of catered toward a lot of these teams going to that short passing game, running the football, kind of looking at the trenches. And you can tell that that's kind of where the shift is happening now. And especially, I think we've seen it at Sean Payton's time at the Saints. There was a heavy focus on running the football, and I will see that. I think that's going to happen here as well, based on how the draft went. But yeah, that's a good call out there, Mike. Thank you for coming in with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think running the ball is going to take a lot of pressure off of your quarterback as well. Especially we get those first down runs, maybe you get 5 yards, running again. Maybe you're looking at 3rd and 2, and that opens up the whole offense for you. On 3rd and 2, you can run the ball, you can pass the ball, you can do anything. Keep defenses guessing, and also just wearing down a defense, especially with Estimé and like Javante Williams, just battering rams, just beating down the defense. And by the time the 3rd, 4th quarter rolls around, that defensive line is going to want to give up. So getting back and focusing this offense on the run game is crucial for the Broncos' success this next year.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Again, thank you, Mike, for coming in with that. We got the Ronk coming in. Thank you. He says John Franklin Myers trade was the best pickup for the Broncos in the NFL. Yes, I would say. Well, I kind of have my category. So yeah, as far as the best draft selection for the Broncos, Troy Franklin. The best offseason pickup, yes, I agree with you, Mike. This one for sure, for sure. Again, just the guys just jumps out at you. I mean, and like I said, the way the Broncos were able to get him to, again, for 6th round pick 2 years from now, it's like, man, Peyton's been on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot help but love the JFM trade, Mike. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man, this defensive line needs as much help as it can get, and giving up nothing to go get a guy who's pretty solid in run defense, but he's a real plus getting push up the middle, getting after the quarterback, and that's something we haven't seen in Denver for a while. And it's nice to have someone opposite of Zach Allen, who actually played pretty well last season, but he can't do it all himself, and having a partner on the other side is going to do wonders for getting pressure on the quarterback this season.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you, Mike, for coming in. I'm gonna grab this one for DTR again. Thanks again, my guy. Says if you wanted to know what a loyal Bronco fan looks like, Peyton Manning said Denver will host a playoff game in 2024.
Wow.
Hashtag Bo knows. That's it. Yeah. I mean, wow. Very, very loyal. Well, we know Peyton's very loyal to Denver.
Then, yeah.
He's when he speaks, yeah, I think we this and we this. And I'm like, okay,
My
well, that's good.
Broncos are,
My Broncos this, yeah.
exactly, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, well, again, DTR, it depends on what happens. Again, if like I said, the draft went well, and again, some of the off-season signings were good as well. But you know, you still have to face that beast in the AFC West in Kansas City. So again, I don't know about hosting a playoff game in 2024. Again, anything can happen. Obviously, we all are wanting a miraculous turnaround, just like the Houston Texans had last year. Yeah, because they were able to host a playoff game, which is good, but they're not. I don't think that division scares anyone. Whereas though you have the AFC West that is quite scary, and he's even gotten scarier, post draft. But could the Broncos be in the playoffs? Can they win 9 or 10 games? Maybe. And that can set up a wild card berth, and they'll have to take their talents on the road. But we'll see. Again, we'll have to see how things shake up in camp and how the season goes. But I guess I'm looking at it more realistically here, Dylan, in maybe 2025 is when we can start talking about the Denver Broncos in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mentioned before, I think this is going to be more of a learning year. You're kind of building for 2025. Playoffs are a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out. This team has enough talent, I think, and the coaching's there. It's more like we mentioned before, the defensive side scares me. But yeah, I mean, who am I to argue with Peyton Manning? If we could host a playoff game this coming season, I'd be ecstatic, man. That'd be awesome. But I don't personally see it.
Yeah, we can hope, DTR. Again, I don't see it this year. But again, they can prove us wrong. We'll see what happens. But again, if my thing is, I'm all about, even if it's 7 wins, 8 wins, if they play well, if they can be competitive,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. And also, this is a year of evaluating Bo Nix too. We can see from next year if this is really the guy. So again, that's really all you can use this upcoming season for. It's just kind of more of an evaluation, right? Kind of working through the ebbs and flows, kind of seeing where this offense stands, and then just keep on building upon that. All righty. We got one more here. We're running up at time, guys, but we got the Papa Bear coming in with the super chat. Thank you, David. He says, hashtag Sean knows. Buckham ×3. Watch out for Denver. Yes.
Damn right.
I'm right there with you. Just Sean does know. And Bo Nix, I think it was on after the first night of the draft when he was I think he did an interview with Pat McAfee, and he was just rattling out all those stats for Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could tell, Sean knows. He's done his research. Obviously, I know that scouting team has as well. And so, given that and the amount of film and prep that has gone into Nix, we can only hope that Sean does know. And, with the selection of Nix, David, and these draft selections, watch out for Denver for sure. Again, maybe not this upcoming season, but 2025 and beyond, this team is definitely set up to do great things. All righty. Just kind of doing one last glance at the chat to see if we missed anybody. Oh, also got to make sure we close it out here with our guy, The Ronk. Says great show tonight, Ron and Dylan on Orange and Blue View. Go Broncos. Again, Mike, thank you for coming in with all the episodes with your support. You know, we appreciate you, my guy.
Always great to see you, Michael. Always nice to have you closing out our shows.
Yes, yes, definitely. All right, Dylan. Looks like I don't see anything. So let's see here. I guess we can go ahead and close it out. Thank you, everyone, again for tuning in to our installment tonight. We appreciate it. If you don't do anything else, guys, make sure you subscribe and like and share across all the platforms. You know, we greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you go to milehighhuddle.com and check out content. Of course, everyone, the whole staff is out there putting up content every day. So make sure you check us out. Also, go on X and you can ask us some questions. We can have some good discussions on X. I'm at Ron White NFL, and my partner here is at Dylan Von Arx MHH. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Before we get out of here, Dylan, do you have any parting words for Broncos country here?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for showing up. And it's always great having your guys' support, and you really thought-provoking questions. And I just want to thank everyone who donated tonight. Lawrence Rivera, DTR, David McGillrath, Gary Palmer, Michael Davis, Sean Ward, Mike Edel, Phil McLaughlin, and I believe that's it.
Yes, guys, thank you all very much for your support, your generosity. We greatly appreciate it. All righty. Well, until next time, guys.
Hold up. It looks like Michael snuck one in here before.
Oh, we missed one from the Ronk. Okay.
No,
sorry, Ronk, about that.
No, he just snuck that one in there.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. So, yeah, we'll answer this definitely for you, Mike. Should Bo Nix start the NFL season or Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham? Bo Nix. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix should start it. I mean, you selected him at number 12. That was your guy all along. And I just think for me, yeah, Jarrett Stidham has some experience, but it would just be so. You need like a good kickstart to the season. And I feel as though Dylan trotting a Zach Wilson or a Jarrett Stidham out there in week 1 just does not do the job. Like right. you wanna showcase your new shiny toy under center. Why not showcase them in week 1? Like throw them out there. I mean, you have to. I feel as though you drafted him this high. He has to get out there and start to take reps and get that in-game experience at some point. Why not week 1? Mm-hmm. So this is a matter of get him. And I think he's going to win the job. I think he's going to win the job. He's going to be out there week 1. So Mike, to answer this, is going to be Bo Nix. Bo Nix should start week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll be quick here. Like you mentioned, selected at 12, 61 college starts. All I've been hearing is he has a supercomputer brain. If he doesn't start week 1, that's a terrible pick, and that's just bad process. So I absolutely think he's starting week 1.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and David, exactly. People would be mad as heck if both. Right, exactly. Like, you said it, David. Like it's like you need something to get the Broncos fans out of their seats at Empower Field. You know, it's trotting Zach, especially not Zach Wilson. God, heaven forbid. And yeah, you trot out a Jarrett Stidham. It's just, it's just definitely uninspiring. But yeah, I would expect Bo Nix to start week 1 for sure.
And they're trying to not let us leave. We got Phil just
Okay.
added some more as
Yes.
well.
Thanks, guys, for coming in. It's all good. We appreciate the conversation. Thank you, Phil, for coming in. He says, I just hope that if another one of the QBs is actually better, Peyton is proud to admit it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if another one is better, I think that'll all come out, in camp. And I think with Wilson, it's, I just feel as though they're going to try to salvage whatever they can out of Zach Wilson. And reclamation project. We'll see what Peyton does, but I don't think it's going to be good enough or even enough time to even have him out there. Definitely not playing week 1. And then I just don't see him, getting this job and Peyton admitting that he's better than Bro Nix. I just don't see that. And then with Jarrett Stidham, I know Peyton kind of threw pom-poms for Stidham last year near the end of the season, but I think it was just a matter of he just wanted Wilson off the field. That's all that was. This is wanting Wilson off the field, get Stidham in there to provide a juice to the offense. But it just, again, that didn't really do much. It didn't move the needle. So you're right, Phil. If Peyton does see another quarterback that is better or, that has some potential, I'm pretty sure that'll come out in the wash. And I don't think he's too proud to admit that because we know what he's done, with quarterbacks in the past. But again, I just think Bo Nix is the guy. He's picked this guy, like you said, Dylan, supercomputer, can process things very well. Give him more athleticism than what we give him credit for. So I think that's going to be the best one out of the bunch.
Yeah, I'll just say this: if Peyton comes out and admits that he's someone other than Bo Nix is the guy, you might get run out of Denver because you used the 12th overall pick to pick a quarterback who's not going to be up to snuff with all that experience. His amazing processing and all that, his maturity, and you're not going to start him regardless. Like I would keep that to myself. you gotta push that guy. His legacy is tied to Bo Nix now, whether he likes it or not.
Exactly. Again, Phil, thank you for coming with that comment. We appreciate it. All right, just making sure we didn't miss anyone.
We good?
We're good. All right, guys. Again, thank you all for your time, your questions. This was a great discussion. This hour does go by quickly, and we're a little over an hour now. Thanks to you guys, but it's all good. Appreciate you talking ball with you guys. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.